It is a continuing challenge, let's be honest about it, in that our clients clearly expect that the cost of TA services will fall in real terms, pound terms, every year on a rolling basis. And clearly there's only a limited amount that you can really do to really, if you like, address that. You can look to more efficient processes, you can look to fundamentally to do more automation. And let's be honest about it, you have to look increasingly towards what can we look to outsource and to either ourselves or to source out to service locations outside Europe and into, particularly in our case, into India in this case, where clearly we do take a considerable amount out of the cost base. But that continuing ratchet, if you like, is a challenge. Clearly there is elements now which I think are becoming clear, and we've seen that at the conference so far, that a lot of the fund management community are beginning increasingly to look to transfer agents to be more than just administrative processes of business. They look for us to have the scale, the capability, the expertise to help them, not just in the distribution arrangements, and that's always been important, but increasingly if they want to launch into new markets, to be a source of market intelligence, to really give them, if you like, real strategic input into their own decision making and help them understand in an increasingly complex world what everybody else is doing. Obviously we have to be careful around confidentiality, but as much as we can do, part of the key role that we certainly see within ITAS is to actually be part increasingly of that strategic decision making process of our clients. The challenge, and obviously it's very different in individual countries across Europe in this case. I mean, clearly very heavy bank distribution dominance in France and Germany. The UK is almost completely different in this case, and I think really the mix you talk there is probably reflective of a UK distribution model. I think the real challenge that fund managers are seeing is not so much the mix between, if you like, restricted and independent or anything like that. It's really down to the fact that advice of any form through advisory organisations is increasingly, the decisions aren't made by the individual advisor with the individual client. They're often running now off best advice lists or research materials that are made available through platforms or through their own organisations. And really one of the challenges fund managers are seeing is that really there's probably only 200 people or thereabouts who are controlling minds in the UK making decisions about which funds are deemed to be particularly attractive in this case. So we see this time now, in the last 6 rolling quarters now, we've now seen less than 50 funds have taken more than 80% of the new business flow in the UK market. And that goes to the heart of a real challenge from an industry that currently supports 3,700 funds just in the UK alone. So really I think that's behind and what we're seeing, and a lot of being talked about here today at the conference has been about how do fund managers reconnect with their underlying consumers. Yes, on a D2C basis, and there's been much debate about how far that trend can go, but even for those clients that actually are directly invested via advisors in this case, what can fund managers do to reconnect? How do fund managers reconnect if that holding is held through a platform? This whole bit around conduct risk and an expectation that fund managers be responsible for the appropriateness of the products is rightly, I think, usefully pulling them back to understanding that being so disconnected as many of them become from effectively their underlying consumers of the product has not been one of the better things that have come from the result of platforms dominating the market. And many, I believe, are really embracing this and really do want to get back in contact and really get a better understanding of what the clients are wanting and requiring. I think MiFID II is going to be seen in the context of just the continuing round of regulatory change that we've seen really come out since the financial crisis in 2008. And really, as actually was described last year at the conference in this case, that's not a tsunami of regulatory kind of it's being rising to sea level. It's not going to go away. And frankly, MiFID II is just the most recent, if you like, manifestation of the degree of regulatory involvement that Brussels is clearly insisting upon a set level bringing to the industry in this case. I think anything that forces change, forces thought, is not always necessarily a bad thing. I think we wait to see the final outcome of some of the wording, but clearly one of the bits that much of the focus has been here today has been around what does MiFID II mean in terms of distribution and incentivisation of advisors across Europe. Essentially, are we going to see the RDR restrictions from the UK translate and be imposed across the whole of the rest of Europe? I think we really wait to see the outcome of that more than anything else. My belief is probably not. It would be considerably disruptive to many of the bank arrangements in this case that are in place between independent fund managers and the banks that distribute dominating distribution, sorry, across certainly Germany and in France. So I think we wait to see, but certainly it's a dynamic change, and it clearly will impact not just the way the funds are run, but will impact the whole of asset managers, the way they do research, how they pay for research, how they account for the costs and charges to the clients, be they institutional or retail. There's a lot of change coming down the wires, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.